Hello students, welcome to Sri Vardhaman Vidyalaya online education. Today we will see the part 2 of a chapter 9, force and law of motion. So in this part we will discuss about the force of friction and first law of an motion. Okay. So what is the force of friction? It is a force extended when two surfaces are in contact with each other. It always acts in a direct opposite to the direction of motion of the object. So now listen in this diagram. So this is a pushing force that we are applying in a force. So the friction is in an opposite direction. So you can see that the force will be in this direction. So what happens? The box will be moves in this direction. That is the motion will be happens here. And the frictions will be always in the opposite direction. So that is given. It is in a force extended when two surfaces are in contact with each other. So these are the two surfaces when contact with each other. It is always act in the directions opposite to the direction of motion of an object. So when we are pushing the object, what happens? The motion will be moves in these directions and the force of frictions will be in an opposite direction. Now, the first law of motion, the Galileo's observation. He observed the motion of the objects on an inclined plane. When a marble is rolled down an inclined plane, its velocity increases. Now we can see this one. So Galileo's argument, when the marble is rolled down from an left, so here the marble is rolling from an left. So what happens? It will be goes up opposite side up to the same height at which it is dropped down. Now this is a first example. When a marble is rolling down, what happens? It will be rolled or it will be moved to the second marble that is a rolled up to the same height. Okay. Next second, if the inclination of a plane is equal, now you can see this one. The inclination is in the same. Here there is in some distance. Okay. The marble would travel equal distance by climbing up or travel by rolling down. So here what happens? The height is same. It will be moves in an opposite side in a same height. Here you can see that is and it will be climbing. So the distance will be same. So here it will be, you can see that is it will be from a rolling down. So here you can see from this side, the here it will be rolled and the same distance it will be moves in an opposite directions. Okay. So in the first example, so that is when a marble will be moves at a same height. And here in the second example, the marbles will be moves in a same distance on an rolling down. Now, if we decrease the angle of an inclination of the right angle, then the marble would travel further until it reaches its original height. Now, you can see the diagram. Here you are, this is angle, this we are calling as an inclined angle. Okay. So, when will we decrease the inclined angle? So, the height will be same. So, in this example, you can see that when we decrease the angle of an inclination, so we are decreasing the angle of the inclinations, so the marble would travel further until it reaches its original height. If the right angle of the plane is made flat, so here we are making a flat, then the marble would travel far away to achieve the same height. So, these are the arguments for an Galileo's. Now, Galileo inference, we need an unbalanced force to change the motion of the marble. So here from this four arguments, you can say that if there is an unbalanced force is given to change the motion of the marble, but no force is required when the marble is moving uniformly. When the marble is moving uniformly, we need not to give any force. So in other words, the object moves at a constant speed if no force acts upon them. So if an object is moving at a constant force, there will be no force act on upon them. So based on the Galileo's ideas, the Newton present the three law of motions. So from that first law of an motion, that is we are calling as the law of inertia. Whether an object is moving uniformly on a straight path is at rest, its state would not change until or unless an external force is applied on it. Now listen this one. The body is at rest. It will remain at rest until we are not giving any external force. If a body is moving, okay, So it will be remains on a moving position unless we are not giving any external force to stop this one. Okay. Next, and an object is in motions will continue with a constant speed and the directions unless act on any unbalanced force. So these are the examples. So whether a body object is moving uniformly on a straight path or it has rest, it would be remains at an rest or unless an external force is applied on it. Hence, we can say that the object opposes a change in their state of motion or rest. So, this tendency of an object to remain in the state of rest or to keep them moving uniform is called as an inertia. So, inertia is nothing but it is opposed a change in their state, whether it is in an motion or in a rest. So, that is tendency of an object to remain in the state of rest or keep moving uniformly is called as an inertia. Now we can understand what is inertia using some example. So the example of inertia. Now listen. We fall back when a vehicle starts moving in the forward direction because our body is in rest state. So it opposes the motion of a vehicle. Now you can see the example here. That is, a lady is standing. So when a bus is moving in the forward directions, what happens? Yes, her lady will be moves body is in rest, so it will be oppose the motion of the vehicle. So what happens, it will be lean forward or backward. We will fall forward when the brake applied in the car because our body opposes the change of state of motions to the rest. Here you can see that a person is driving, so when he apply a brake, what happens, your body will move in a forward directions. Why? Because it will oppose the change of a state. So the car is in motion, so we have to apply the brake to stop the car. So to oppose the motion, what happens, our body will be moves in a forward direction. So this is an example of an inertia. Next, the activity 1. Make a pile of a similar carom coins on a table. So you have shown in the figure, so the you have to pile up the carom coin and attend a sharp horizontal hit at the top of the pile using another carom coin or the striker. If the hit is strong enough, what happens? The bottom coins moves out quickly. Once the lowest coin is removed, the inertia of the other coin makes them fall vertically on the table. So you can try this in your home. So pile up a carom coil. So using a striker, you hit very strongly. What happens when you hit at a bottom of a coil? What happens? The coin will be moves out first one. But when a pile, we have to change the state. So it will be when the lowest coin is removed, the inertia of the other coins will make them fall vertically on the table. Next, same thing, activity 2. Set a 5 rupees coin on a strip playing card covering an empty glass tumbler standing on the table. So you have shown in the figure, taken in one empty glass. In that one, you have to place in a card, and above the card you have to place in a 5 rupee coin. Given a card a sharp horizontal flick with a finger, so you have to flick it with a finger. If we do it fast, then the card moves away, allowing the coil to fall vertically into the glass tumbler. That is due to inertia. So the inertia of the coin tries to maintain its rest even when the card flows off. Okay. So here you can see that one, when we strike means flick the card, what happens? So the coin on the card, it will be oppose the inertia because it will be to maintain its state of rest. It will try to have an inertia to maintain its state, so it will fall on the tumbler. So when the card is flow away. So these are the example of an inertia. Now there is a relationship between the inertia and mass, so that we can see the inertia of an object is depend upon its mass. Lighter object have a less inertia, that is it can easily change their state or rest or motion. So they can easily change the state of rest or motion if it is a light object. Heavier object have a larger inertia, Therefore, they shows a more resistance. Hence, the mass is a measure of the inertia of an object. Consider the image given below. It is easy for a person to push the bucket that is empty rather than the one that is filled with sand. So this is because the mass of an empty bucket is less than the bucket filled with an sand. So it is very easy to pull this empty bucket and it is very difficult. So the lighter object having a less inertia. So here the empty bucket will have a less inertia, where the bucket filled with a sand will have a more inertia. So next we will see the momentum. Our next topic is momentum. So before discussing about the second law of motions, we shall first learn about the momentum of moving object. From our daily life experience, like during the game of table tennis, if the ball hit a player, it does not hurt them. On the other hand, when the fast moving cricket ball hits a spectacles, it may hurt it. This suggested that impact produced by the moving object depends upon both their mass and velocity. So there appears to exist some quantity, some of the important that combining the object's mass and its velocity called momentum, and it was introduced by Newton. So momentum can be defined as a mass in motion. All the object has mass. So if an object is moving, then it has a momentum and it has a mass in motion. So momentum of an object is denoted by the letter P. It is defined as a product of its mass and velocity. So that is the momentum P is equal to m into v. So the momentum has both directions and magnitude. So we have already studied if a quantity has both directions and magnitude, then it is called as a vector quantity, and its direction is same as that of a velocity v. So the SI unit of the momentum is kilogram meter per second. So the unit for the mass is in a kilogram, and for velocity it is in a meter per second. So the unit for the momentum is in a kilogram meter per second. Since the applications of unbalanced force bringing a change in the velocity of the object, therefore clear that the force also produces a change of momentum. So now we can define the momentum. At the start of the time interval is an initial momentum, and at the end of the time interval it is a final momentum. When the object moves, then it gains the momentum as a velocity increased. So as the velocity increase, the momentum is also increased. So greater the velocity, greater is a momentum. Now the mathematical formulation for a second law of motion. So this is important question. So Newton's second law of motions gives a relationship between the force and acceleration. So the second law of the motion states that the rate of change of momentum of the object is proportional to the applied force, unbalanced force in the direction of a force. The rate of change of momentum of the object is proportional to the applied force. So the Newton's second law of motions can be expressed as force is directly proportional to change in momentum upon time taken. Suppose an object of a mass m is moving along with a straight line with an initial velocity u, and if uniform accelerated to the velocity v in time t by the applications of a constant force F throughout the time t. So the initial momentum of an object is considered as P1 is equal to mu, and final momentum of the object, that is P2, is equal to mv. So u is an initial velocity and v is a final velocity. Now change in the momentum would be P2 minus P1. That is, we can take that as P2 is an mv and P1 is an mu. So from this we can take an m as a common. So m is equal to v minus u. Now the rate of change of momentum is equal to m into v minus u upon t. So now the applied force is proportional to the change of momentum. So the equations will become F is directly proportional to change in momentum upon time taken. So here we have find out what is change in momentum upon time, that is m into v minus u upon t. So to remove the proportionality, we are taking in a constant k. So now the equations become f is equal to km into v minus u upon t. So that is k and m, where a is equal to what? V minus u. So you can say from an first that we can say the equation of motion from motion. So that is a is equal to v minus u upon t. You know that is the equation. V is equal to u plus at. So now v minus u is equal to what? At. So a is equal to what? V minus u upon t. So we can substitute the value for v minus u upon t, that we can write as an a. So is an accelerations, which is the rate of change of velocity. So the quantity k is a constant proportionality. The unit of the force is chosen in such a way that the value of a constant k become an 1. So we are taking a value of n k is an 1. So we can get the equations, that is an f is equal to ma. So now 1 unit of the force, it is defined as the amount that produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in an object of 1 kilogram mass. So that is 1 unit of the force is equal to kilogram, that is k. K is a constant, into 1 kilogram into 1 meter per second square. So the value of n k becomes 1. Then the equations 2 will become f is equal to ma. Now the unit of the force is kilogram meter per second square, or we can write as a Newton, and the symbol for the Newton is N. So the second law of motions gives us a method to measure the force acting on the object as a product of its mass and acceleration. So the second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum of the object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force of object in the direction of force. So this is an important question. So it describe the Newton's second law of motions, and you have to derive the formula F is equal to ma. So you have to write all these equations. So this and this and this to this. Now we can see some examples using second law of motions. The second law of motions is often seen in actions in our everyday life. Have you noticed that while catching a fast moving cricket ball, a fielder in the ground gradually pulls his hand backward with a moving ball? In doing so, the fielder increases the time during which the high velocity of a moving ball decreases to the zero. Thus, the accelerations of a ball is decreased. Therefore, the impact of catching fast-moving ball is also reduced. If a ball is stopped suddenly, then its high velocity decreases to zero in a very short interval of time. Thus, the rate of change of momentum of the ball will be large. Therefore, a large force would have to apply for holding the catch that may hurt the palm of the fielder. So, in high jump athletic event, the athletes also made to fall either on a cushion's bed or on a sand bed. This is used to increase the time of the athlete's fall to stop after making the jump. So this decreases the rate of change of momentum and hence the force. So try to ponder how a karate player breaks a slab of ice with a single blow. Now you can see here. So this is a cricket. So he will take his hand down. So what happens? The velocity of a ball will be very high. So it will have taken a time to reduce that velocity. Then you can easily catch the ball. So the first law of motions can be mathematically stated from mathematical expression for second law. F is equal to ma. So F is equal to m into v minus u upon t. So Ft is equal to mv minus mu. Then when F is equal to 0, v is equal to u for the whatever time t is taken. This means that the object will continue moving with a uniform velocity u throughout the time. If u is equal to 0, then v will also in a 0, that is the object will remain at rest. So this is some examples of an second law of an motions. So this so same thing you can see in a karate players also, it can break with an so he will take an less time, so it will moves very fast so that it can easily break. Thank you. We will meet in the next part of this session.